Hello. I figured it was about time that I got to know you a little better and tell you some things about the Scientolopedia Project. Not just the website, but the whole overlying project that perhaps you weren't aware of, and I'm sure there's some new things that you'll be excited to hear about. First of all, the reason I'm doing this now is we're at a point where we're about to launch and get involved in some exciting new things, but we need some financing to do these things. And so we're going to use this Patreon site. I'm going to ask you to become a Patreon, a patron, and help support and fund these things that I'm going to tell you about here. So I know you've been to the Scientolopedia website. You've seen what it does, what it's capable of to some degree. There's a lot of content there. It goes back, the first idea for it was 7 years ago now, and then I wrote about it. I thought, I hope maybe somebody would pick up the idea and run with it because it's such a great idea. But that didn't happen, so I had to do it myself, which is usually, you're it. You volunteered. Anyway, that's fine. We've done a lot of good things with the site. We put up a lot of content. The core idea behind it, or there's several core ideas, but one of them is that we take a neutral point of view, similar to the Wikipedia model. At least attempt as closely as possible. Just present the data, and that alone would be a huge, benefit to people to know the history of their subject, the people, the technologies, and so forth. Now, going back, I had some familiarity with wikis. I'd put up one website was a wiki. Then I learned more about it. There's some enhancements to the wiki software that we could do that would really be special for our site. One example of that is when if you notice in our glossary, when you're reading any content on the site and you come across a Scientological term, it pops up in the text. And that's just one example, but many other enhancements like that that we've been able to sort of push the envelope using technology to get the word out, the positive word, the truth about the subject and the founder, etc. Now, the other thing that went along with that was, of course, the idea that because it was a wiki, it had that benefit of any number of people could contribute to it. And many have, by the way. I should say that even though I started the site, I did a lot of the heavy lifting in the beginning, but we've had a lot of wonderful people have contributed content, technical support, and so forth. And without them, the site wouldn't have nearly as much content as it does. So all the people that have pitched in have been sort of a proof of that original idea that by following the Wikipedia model, we could achieve some great things. And we have. We're the highest ranked neutral to positive site on the subject of Scientology. I mean, you can't compare the whistleblowers and the train wreck type sites. But as far as just putting out information about the practitioners and the history and so forth, we're very high ranked and we've done very well. But again, going back to the idea of using the wiki, and another key factor was that Wikipedia had brought all these divergent people that would probably have otherwise created their own individual website, and we wouldn't have Wikipedia today as being the number 5 dominant site on the internet. So that gets into search engine optimization and strategies for a web platform that if we could focus our energies on one single platform, we could do great things as far as self-help and betterment. Around that same time, I did some research to keywords and what people were searching for on the internet, and I found that on subjects of self-help like, depression, anxiety, grief, how to study, how to communicate better, all these things, these life issues, people were searching on the internet. They were using Google and other search engines to find answers. In fact, it's a little shocking, but in the English language only, I found that just on the handful of topics that I picked, there's over 1 billion searches every single month on the internet for help, people looking for help on those topics. That doesn't count Chinese, Russian, German, French, Italian, Spanish. So if we could sort of, I didn't do the research, but we could sort of conjecture that there's probably 3 to 4 billion searches every month, people looking for help. So that's a significant challenge, and unfortunately, when you go to, you can make up any search term you want, any phrase, and you'll find that no Scientology practitioners, no group offering L. Ron Hubbard-based solutions is coming up on the search results, at least not on the first several pages where you have to be. So that's our challenge, and we started by creating a website. We've got good rankings, but we need to branch out into other things, and that's where you come in today with signing up as a patron for us, because I'm going to give you an idea of some of the things we have in mind. Now, it's an odd situation because we've got a billion-dollar corporation with a bad attitude that doesn't like us doing what we're doing, even though we're not particularly attacking that organization. We're seen as a threat. In fact, a year and a half ago, they moved to shut us down. In fact, we were taken offline for a few days. It was never in jeopardy that we wouldn't get back up online, and we did. But the fact that they attacked us, was a wake-up call, so to speak. So we've taken some measures to move everything so that it's out of their reach, so to speak. But we have to be a little bit careful about our future planning that we talk about. And that's another one of the reasons why I need you to be a patron, because we have to do more things on the legal front, not only to protect us against future attacks, but also to ensure it's called continuity planning. We need to ensure that the domains, the data, everything is secured in such a way that it's not relying on any one individual, that as we've got the situation where people drop their bodies, people move on, and we've got to be able to turn all this over to the next generations on into the future. So that continuity planning is involving legal and corporate setups, and that takes funding. So we need you to be a patron to help with that as well. But the more exciting stuff that we've got lined up is we're going to move from the site being sort of a static site, although I don't know, I'm going to just mention we've got a lot of content there. We've got great biographies and everything, I'm sure you've noticed. Over the last year and a half, we've distributed close to 20 terabytes. That's terabytes with a T, not a gigabytes. That's a huge amount of lectures and written materials, courses, books, tech volumes, all of that over the past year and a half. So that's a pretty amazing statistic. And then more recently, we opened up, you probably heard of our streaming service. So you can, from your desktop, your laptop, your Android device, your iOS device, you can stream any of LRH lectures, the briefing course, PDCs, ACCs, any of them are up there for free streaming. Now, of course, I have to say we're free. There is some expense on our part on the back end to support this infrastructure, in addition to the normal web hosting fees you have. But that's another item on our checklist of why we need funds. The web hosting is sort of straining at its limits. We need some professional services from professional server admin to keep the software upgraded, to upgrade the actual hosting facilities. We need more powerful servers and more bandwidth so that more people, when they come to the site, can get faster response. If you've ever noticed the site is a little bit slow, that's an indication of that. So there's that infrastructure, technical. We need hardware, software, and then there's also some. We're planning on doing more podcasts and webinars, and those are services that are offered by different companies, but they charge a fee per user, per seat that we. Let's say if we want to do a webinar, like using a WebEx or something, well, you have to pay a monthly fee. So that's why we need you to be a patron, so we can do more of those. We have a series of podcasts lined up that are going to be quite spectacular, and all the patrons will be the first to receive a confidential or exclusive link to watch those. before we put them out broadly, and other things we'll think of to reward patrons for helping us. Whether it's the next thing I'm going to talk about is online learning. A huge area when these people go, all these searches, these billions of searches every month, even if they happen to find a Scientology-based practitioner, in this day and age, people are not going to travel. There's never going to be enough central orgs, brick and mortar locations to satisfy, to really handle the demand of the public. So we need to get into the e-learning game. I mean, it's very sophisticated now. You can get college degrees. You can learn to fly an airplane, do all kinds of things. There's no reason in God's creation why we can't be putting up online courses on the ARC triangle, on how to work better, how to study better, how to understand the tone scale, all those things from the old PE lectures, personal efficiency lectures, and introductory lectures. Plus, looking forward in the future, there's no reason why we can't teach people how to audit book one and self-analysis, and who knows beyond that as far as auditor training and distance auditing. So the sky's the limit as far as using technology. We've been pushing the limit. We've been pushing the envelope, as they say. But there's a lot more to do, and we know what to do and roughly how to, but the financing is just not there. So we need to build up this the patrons and this flow of some revenue so that we can do these things. And that's the big one, the e-learning. I think that's the future. Like I mentioned, we want to do these podcasts and webcasts. We want to do more, infrastructure build up, more software services that we need. And I mentioned the legal and continuity planning that we need. So all those reasons, that's why I'm asking you to be a patron today. I'm going to commit myself to being more visible, more accessible, doing more online webinars so we can have an interaction. You'll be the first to be invited to these conference calls on these web platforms, to join in, share your ideas. And so anyway, I want to thank you in advance for signing up and becoming a patron. Like I said, I'm going to make the best effort possible to be more visible and increase the communication. Use the email address that's provided here, and don't hesitate to reach out and get in touch with me if you have any questions or concerns or anything comes up that I can address. So thank you very much, and we'll be staying in communication as best as possible. Bye.